All right, guys. Well, we are back. Hopefully, you guys had a chance to have a good break. This is kind of the beginning of our part two of the industry roundtable to really have a more tailored conversation about how we can begin to really move forward. And this portion of the roundtable is exactly that. So very conversational, right? Being able to kind of talk through things, being able to share ideas, but also for us to begin to identify, right, a way that we can collectively move forward, right, as an industry. So one of the things that's kind of hurt us being able to have the traction is that there's a lot of efforts that take place, but they're very siloed, right? So it's hard to gain the traction. There's a lot of programs that's out there, but one of the things that we desire to do and that we see that there's a need for is for that facilitator, if you will, to not only introduce young people to the different career opportunities that exist, but also different programs and different organizations that are actually introducing young people, right, to the industry, so that kind of who's being trained for the industry, because their programs is all about placement, right? So they invest a lot in teaching them the trades. They invest a lot in showcasing what different opportunities exist, but we do them a disservice if they're not able to have the placement on the back end as well, right? And so, the objective for having the first portion of the day is for us to be able to kind of hear from the community. Like I said, I'll go back and kind of reiterate that main theme is to understand context so that we can make more informed decisions as a community. And so, by you guys getting a chance to listen in, those who are virtually. I think we had a couple of technical difficulties, and so hopefully everybody is able to tune in now. If you're not, I believe we are just communicating with you guys via chat, in the live chat, to make sure we're all good. I got the thumbs up from the back, so we are all good. So thank you guys. One of the things that we want to make sure that we mention to our virtual audience is the first half of the meeting did not happen in vain, right? So you still will be able to get access to that. We recorded it, and we'll be able to send that out to you, and especially for those who are tuned in person as well, being able to bring that back to your team members. You guys will have access to that as well, and so we just want to make sure that you guys know that we've got you covered as far as the content and what we were able to cover. So, one of the things that we wanted to do to kind of split up the time frame, right, and not just have dialogue for the entire time, was to have these different components that would allow you guys to kind of see exactly who Construct Reach is, right, and what we do, and reimagining what outlook and outreach looks like. So one of our things that we do is building reachable opportunities through construction, right, and this is essentially like what it looks like. So high visibility things where the community knows about it, where the industry is working collaboratively to have an intended and intentional approach or what have you, but also allowing young people to come in, understand what they can do within the industry, seeing people that they can identify with. That's one of the ways that we get a chance to bring that visibility, leveraging social media, being able to meet them where they are, and then creating a digital community that pretty much functions like social media, to where the industry is now being brought up to date, right, to how young people typically like to engage and interact. And so those are some of the things that we've been able to do, that we like to make sure that we're putting emphasis on. But we wanted to spend this time really in dialogue and making sure that we can leave here with maybe some actionable items, some actionable steps that we can all agree on, so that we can be solution oriented, right? It's good to have the conversation, but we want to make sure that we're not only putting words to things, but we're taking steps toward what we are committing to do. Sounds good? Good. Thank you. So I would love to hear, you guys have got a chance to kind of sit with things for a little while and take a tour, and you guys, got a chance to see like what we have prepared for the students and what they're going to be able to go through in concert with the conversation that took place on the front end. So would definitely love to hear, what you guys' thoughts are, takeaways, insights, so we can use this time for that as well. Yes, we're gonna bring it up. We gotta bring up the link one more time, because you guys can go ahead and post those questions, if you will, right, to this link, so constructreach.com/ask. And then as you guys are taking a few minutes to do that, I don't know, Steve, you wanna, I don't know, just kind of share any insights, any additional takeaways?
No, yeah, absolutely. So I think, again, thanks for everyone for participating this morning, listening in, and then also for kind of sticking around for another hour plus here with us this afternoon, really to kind of get into some more of the details and path forward. You know, our industry is so fragmented. And that, you know, I know that many of you firms have, like I mentioned in the video, you have, you know, there are programs you have. If you're a larger company, you maybe have a workforce development program, but you know, our industry goes to much smaller companies as well. And how can we help all industries, all people in that industry, create the workforce of the future?
Well, while others are submitting their questions and comments about what they've took in so far, some of the takeaways, we did have a question from Marlon from Target. It says this: as discussed, it's hard for the younger generation of kids to see themselves in a successful position and figuring out what they would like to do as a career after graduating from high school. Can you give an example of students who have got involved with Construct Reach and are thriving within their careers?
Yeah. Yes, very, very good question. You know, just a couple of months ago, you know, which seems like a long time considering kind of everything that we've gone through in 2020. But at the tail end of 2019, you know, we kicked off the I Built This campaign, if you will, and we were set to hit a couple of cities throughout this spring and this summer, but we were unable to do that because of COVID. And so, going back to that event that took place in Atlanta, you know, we were partnering and working with Fulcrum Construction, who was down doing a remodel for the Target project, and you know, they began to bring young people through the Construct Reach internship program. And you know, the intentionality that we have, where we try to have a good mix of rotations where they can see multiple aspects of the industry, be able to shadow you know, particular tradesmen or what have you, to see both the office side and the field side. You know, we were able to kind of take them through that program or what have you, and he came in, you know, and this was a 19-year-old, right? And so graduated from high school, college it wasn't an option, and so he got a chance to get an internship, and you know, he came in thinking that he wanted to be involved in HVAC, right? And through the exposure and him being able to showcase, or see showcased, I would say, in front of him, you know, different tradesmen or what have you, and learning about those different insights, you know, he knew for sure that after that exposure, which is key, that he wanted to be an electrician. And so during our event, right, he was actually hired on during the event, and so it just made everything, you know, come into manifestation about, you know, the access, the accessibility, the opportunity, the intentionality with introducing them to the industry. And you know, the thing is, from a business perspective, internships are very key, right? Because you allow yourself as a company to bring in young talent at very low risk, right? And so you can introduce them, you know, to maybe the culture, you can introduce them to different components or what have you. And then during that process, if it is formalized and it's very intentional and there is an outcome, a desired outcome that you want to have, and you can scale that, now you're bringing young people through at a continuous clip where it not only creates an affinity for the industry, but they're having a direct experience with you as a company. And so it creates an affinity for the company as well, because there's a tailored approach to their onboarding into this industry. And so that's kind of an example of what we had, you know, for somebody coming through the Construct Reach internship program and actually getting hired, you know, as a 19-year-old, right? Where you've got other kids who were, you know, juniors and seniors who were out there participating in the I Built This event, and we featured him and we put him in front, you know, of the audience and of those individuals, and they were able to really identify, because he was only 1 year removed from where they were in school and in life. So to be able to provide that tangible example is huge.
Yeah, and I think I just like to build on that a little bit on the industry in general, though. And because our industry is so project focused, you bring on someone new to the industry, they go through the training, they're working on a big project. What happens when that project is done? What is the kind of commitment companies, contractors, subcontractors make to kind of keeping the work going for that individual? Because if they only get 6 months on a job and that's their exposure, and then the job is done, I think that's the challenge we face as an industry that is project focused and not program focused. And I'm open to ideas, suggestions, dialogues. I think we all collectively need to think through this, because I think that's one of the barriers to why someone would want to choose construction beyond the first project they get on, and continuous onto the next project or the next project. And what do you need to do as contractors and subcontractors to make sure that those that go through the training programs know that they have long-term viability beyond maybe the one project that you hired them on. And I'd be curious for this group to throw out thoughts for others as we kind of all try to learn and listen together on what's worked for you when you've done that. I don't know if see a hand. I see a hand there, so I don't know.
Oh, you want to take a hand? Or if you want to submit to, a lot of people are submitting some of their questions and statements. So this is for open time dialogue, to have dialogue. So if you have questions or statements, go to this link. It posted, I get it right here. We got one from Chris Brink at Ryan's Company. Says, there are a lot of individual programs aimed at bringing young people into the construction industry, but they have limited visibility. How can we team up with Construct Reach to give them more exposure?
Yeah, it goes back to the question that was asked on the first portion of the conversation of the roundtable. What we like to do is to understand kind of what is the company's goals, right? To understand what are they seeking to accomplish, what's in the pipeline, what's available, what are maybe good projects or what have you, or what's a program that's existing that you may want to relook at, to reevaluate. And to identify ways to shore that up. To Steve's point, to have maybe more of a programmatic viewpoint and approach to building that pipeline as opposed to a project perspective. And so, once again, I would say, we have the ability for general contractors to go onto our site, constructreach.com, and wanting to learn more, wanting to identify ways to move forward and how Construct Reach could possibly be a solution for you. There's an option to select that, and we can have that follow-up dialogue to understand what a tailored approach looks like based on your business infrastructure.
As a follow-up to that, Jason from Ryan Companies has this comment. The awareness Construct Reach brings to the future of our industry is fantastic. Are there any other owners following Target's lead, specifically related to the I Built This campaign?
That's one of the purposes of today, was bring exposure to this initiative, as well as the broader need in general, because it's going to take kind of all the collective owners. I mentioned earlier that we're a $1 trillion industry in construction, and very, very, very fragmented as far as the number of owners. There's no one big owner that puts that trillion into place in so many different sectors. So it's going to take many constituents working together to do this. So today is the start of adding more to the initiative.
Yeah, and I would dovetail off of that as well, and to say, we're doing events like this, and it's not just a one-way street, right? Where we're trying to expose young people to the opportunities that exist, but an event like this on today, where the majority of our audience is from within the industry and other brands, is to expose them as well, and you guys to what outreach could look like, right, going forward, and to begin to see a tangible example of how your brand could, right, or how your company could begin to have maybe more continuity between maybe corporate diversity goals and then that actually being in the communities in which you build and serve.
Another comment and takeaways from Denise at Edford. It is our CEO, or it could be Dennis, I'm sorry, Dennis or Denise. Our CEO formed a partnership with other construction companies in our city schools to start a Learn to Earn internship program. It takes juniors and seniors who are taking trade school courses in construction and places them in internships for the work week or the school week program. This enables them at times to actually get hired by one of those employees. But I feel really good about the exposing young people to the trades is what is so important. Currently, we have a tour of one of our job sites coming up for students in historically marginalized neighborhoods. They hear about the opportunities from people who are actually doing the work. I think Construct Reach is amazing. Getting the word out is what's going to grow our workers. What can employers do to help this word get out even more?
Yeah, no, that's great. First, yeah, thank you for acknowledging kind of the work that we're seeking to do and to introduce these opportunities to a younger demographic. From an industry standpoint, I think that's where opportunities to make this a collective effort begins to be very important, and for you guys to see that there's an opportunity to do that, right? And so letting other people that don't know about Construct Reach know about Construct Reach, right? Saying, hey, I just got exposed to this organization, to this company that is really seeking to bring an innovative way of outreach, engaging young people, working collectively within the entire construction pipeline with different stakeholders, and being that facilitator so that we can have a business solution for the sustainability of our industry. This is a company that you may want to look at and consider. And so, definitely being able to leverage your position of influence and reach. And that's why, we've been very fortunate to have like our advisory council and just our partners here to understand that, we all have different networks. We all have a different, if you will, reach, and we work with different companies and different organizations or what have you. And so being able to amplify this a little bit more, because I would tell you one thing is, for a younger demographic where, how we heard earlier, where the attention span is very short, we want to begin to have one word that we can be consistent in and that they understand what that means, and if Construct Reach can be that, very quick one-liner that captures them while you have their attention, and we're not talking, different languages or all of these different things where it seems so overwhelming, then I think that becomes better in being able to retain interest and bring them into and then showcase the opportunities that exist.
Phil from the Summit Groups has this to share. I applaud what you're doing. This is what practical hope looks like. And then a follow-up question that Phil has is, how are you funded and how can people and companies contribute?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. We are a for-profit company. We offer a business solution for the industry, right? We looked at the kind of the trend of things, and I would say being able to introduce a formalized program, being able to be hands-on and work on both sides with the recruitment, the development, and the retention, right, of young talent is a value add, right, for not only companies but the industry. And so yes, we do have a kind of a mission-oriented heartbeat, if you will, because it's definitely something that me as an owner, I am very passionate about, coming from the industry as well. And so yes, but that's kind of who we are, what we do. So yeah, and then of course you can find out more, at Construct Reach, where we're able to kind of list out, what those deliverables are, how we're able to kind of offer that solution to companies, and definitely having a tailored approach, if you will, where we work on both sides, kind of outside and then within the company, to make sure that you guys are in a position to receive young talent.
Yeah, and I maybe just add on to that. It's like, is this a business problem or is it a social problem? And it's both, but it's a business problem first for me, in that if we don't have people in this industry that can do the work, we can't grow as a company. So what do we need to do to encourage this industry to make sure they have a pipeline full of qualified, trained workers that then can be around for decades to come to do the work that's in our future, and why that it's great. There's a social component to it, and there's a lot of, I'll call it a lot of .org organizations focused around this, and a lot of training that's built around that. This was intended to begin to fill the pipeline before all those great training programs that exist in the industry already. So how do you get the marketing of construction to the future workforce?
John in Inglesma has this question to ask. What are some ways to partner with high schools to get students exposed to and excited about careers in construction?
Yeah, so one of the things that we identified with educators who are in high school was kind of five basic needs that were low-hanging fruit that we could pretty much attack right at a shorter clip, right, where it wouldn't take that long of a time to kind of implement. One of the things that they wanted to have more of was access to the industry, right? I think we mentioned this on the first half, being able to have a network of general contractors that could provide exposure to the industry, to be able to have presentations, right, to young people, to be able to have internships as well. And so one of the things that we've been able to do, and that we're still working through, is kind of creating a collaborative approach with general contractors to where it doesn't feel like all of the weight is on you to solve like an entire school district's problems, but to work collectively with general contractors that can kind of be geographical, if you will, ambassadors, and work with certain schools that we do have within our program, so that, again, we kind of serve as that facilitator, whether it's virtual hiring events, whether it's doing webinars, especially in this new norm that we have where virtual learning and virtual connection is huge. I think by our incorporation of technology, we're able to really work with different stakeholders, primarily with educators, and having the relationship with industry partners such as yourselves, to put this in front of the captive audience that they have, but we don't necessarily have as an industry, and that's young people. So working very closely with them, it allows us to get in front of young people to introduce opportunities.
Okay, Sarah from Turner Construction has this to add. Our industry has a shared workforce. Our program works with several trade partners to bring individuals into the industry. They follow those individuals for up to 2 years to be able to know that they may not stay with the current trade partner but stay within the industry. Are there other GCs that track their new construction for a period of time to provide support to keep individuals in the industry?
And that's a great comment. The shared workforce is probably a new a term I've not really heard before, but I think it's the right way to describe our industry at a subcontractor level.
One of the things that's a newer term, but when you think about, here's kind of where the all boats rising kind of narrative comes into play here, where if we want to retain young talent that will help the industry at large and that we can continuously tap into, then maybe we do ourselves eventually a solid, and that young person coming through where we introduce to construction, but we may not necessarily have a longevity position for them. But now we've got them in, we've been very intentional about them coming into the industry and making sure that they understand that this is an industry that they can grow and succeed in. And so if we don't have that opportunity for them to go forward, then maybe it is being able to put them in position so that they can stay within the industry, right? So that we're not cycling them out.
I'd add, this is where you one, have to believe it's important, and then two, invest. And when I say invest, it's invest in that person, and invest in that person more than just the project, that you as a contractor are choosing to have that, or subcontractor are choosing to have that long-term investment in an individual. And we talked about it a little bit in the video. It's really, how do you get narrow with like one person understand that person, make sure that person has a sponsor within an organization that can move them through so that they can. They're one of the first people you talk about when you're talking job assignments, or when you're talking about the next piece of work, the next project that's coming up, or the project that's coming up in 2 weeks, and what do you do with an individual for the next 2 weeks while they're in between projects, and how do you invest in them to make sure they're available and not on again, off again as projects come and go, and really to think about it as an investment in a person that you're trying to bring into the long term into the industry.
You know, and one of the things that's important for us to understand, and again, it goes back, this is a common theme, it goes back to context. One of the things that we heard from young people that was actually a deterrent from the industry, as opposed to, you know, them wanting to be in it, was they felt like things were very cyclical, right? So yes, I get this opportunity for a season, but what about the long-term viability, right? And so, you know, if we kind of rethink that and we understand that, okay, well, that's a connotation that's out there about the industry. So now that I know that, let me operate differently so that we can remove that dilemma, if you will, so that we can get more people who are interested and willing to come through.
Sean from Sunday Construction has this to add. This is a great session. Sorry I missed the first part. Contractors must do their part in fixing our industry. There is a lot of good information for students, contractors, and schools about the careers in construction on the BFI website, which is Build Your Future, which is www.byf.org. Again, that's www.byf, as in Frank.org. There are videos such as Day in the Lives of the electricians or iron workers, etc. The lack of knowledge and stigmas around a career in construction keep many young adults from looking into it. We must reach parents and school counselors if we want to have more of a successful industry. Another thing from Rosanna from Russell Construction, she asked this. As contractors who travel 90% of our projects, we can offer apprenticeships or internships in each town, but it's often not feasible to offer permanent jobs. As Steve mentioned, due to budgeting or the fact that the new employees do not want to travel, sometimes we do not have any openings. Since our interns and apprentices join Construct Reach, would it be helpful to match these interns and apprentices that we are unable to hire with other contractors on the platform that maybe have local work? The employees can then continue in a retail construction sector, all the while gaining more of Target experience. So maybe we can talk about Target as far as the project, but also not limit it to it just to Target, but maybe partnering with the broader audience of the other GCs that have presence on a national scale.
That was a long question.
I know, Steve, I know. But I think, Steve, you can speak to this part. You can speak to the fact you've already acknowledged that it can be tough, right, to not make it cyclical. But talk about what we can do to close the gaps, to possibly using the Construct Reach platform or using other partners locally to try to make sure that those individuals have sustainability and that can thrive in the industry.
Yeah, this goes back to, I think, the previous comment talked about, what's the industry's, obligation, what's or responsibility, what's an owner's responsibility, what's, I would just generally for owners, I mean, we know which projects we're doing. We don't know all the projects that are going on in a marketplace, and we do like people that have experience on our projects to roll to the next project, but those projects don't always go concurrently. So I think this is an area that I think requires some thought on and thought on from multiple owners, yeah, but also from multiple contractors on how do you think about it. Back to this shared workforce. How do you think about it that you're looking for continuous opportunities for the same individual? So how do you go advocate for that individual? If you're done, do you have your network that says, okay, I don't have anything, but I know that you might, and how do you begin to share the resources in a way, instead of it going back into say a pool or nothing, and go from there. So.
Paul, can you speak to the social network of Construct Reach and how they can maybe mitigate and maybe bridge some gaps of communications? The network is for that purpose?
Yeah. I think it's, the way that we are approaching the social network is it allows for us to for one, bring two demographics into the same space, right? A younger, diverse demographic and industry professionals, where there's networking that can take place, there's peer-to-peer engagement that can take place, but there's also insights that can take place. And then for us, being a facilitator, doing our best to try to inform each other about the other, right? So that we could hopefully make a good connection. One of the things that we're also able to do within the social network is to run the internship program through there, and I think that's definitely something that is a value add now, because even as we are in this remote, season, which some components will stay remote, right? Even after COVID, but there's always going to be a desire to develop and train young talent, and so having the option to be able to still develop young talent even when you don't necessarily have them physically in front of you is one of the benefits, I think, of being able to really leverage technology in a way that maybe we haven't before, to allow us to continue to still develop, train, and retain talent for the industry, and that's through the network.
Kevin from Schleiss Flooring Coverings has this to add. We travel all around the country completing flooring work for Target remodel projects. What would help me is if Target had a list of Construct Reach apprentices in different geographical areas that need training, we could hire them to work with our crews at Target projects in those particular cities. If we don't get another store in that area for the latter part of that year, the next flooring contractor could hire them. That way, their training continues so that they are useful on Target projects because they have specific skills in Target remodel niche. It's tough to get workers to travel, so having local apprentices would help companies like us continue to do what we would like to do. Any feedback for that? So again, I think that speaks to the importance of the networking opportunity that exists within the social network platform. So for those of you that are streaming in live and that have not, that are part of our live audience that have not joined the social network, just to even get a glimpse of what happens in there, we would advise you or recommend that you do that, just so that you can kind of see firsthand what that communication accessibility looks like, so that we can start working collaboratively. And one of the takeaways I think for us to think about is, like, from this, and those that are joining us both live stream and in person, if you're interested, let's talk about, maybe have some follow-up meetings. Can you talk about maybe the follow-up after this, Paul, what you look to do following this event?
Yes, definitely.
Sorry. Yeah, definitely. I think, like we've said, a couple of times before, we want to make sure that, we understand kind of what a company's goals, objectives, maybe where their work is, right? So that we can begin to do our due diligence and tap into, whether it's different areas, whether you are traveling or what have you, understand kind of what those positions are, because we feel like the more we understand kind of what you're seeking to accomplish and what you have available, right, to provide the accessibility into the industry, then the better we can be on the recruitment side of things. Right, and so going into this upcoming school year, there is a huge push with some of our educators now to begin to kind of bring in more of that young talent, send them through, I would say, this process to where, they're able to put themselves in more kind of, more opportunist, positions to have, an internship, an apprenticeship, or a new job, if you will. And so, those are definitely some of the things that we have in store coming up for this school year.
Yeah, I'd also, maybe before we jump to that, I'd also be interested in the audience and as well as the, those online, really to share what has worked for them, so that we can all collectively learn from each other when you think of how are you keeping your workforce engaged between projects? I think there's a lot to be learned from each other on this, and if there is something, it'd be great if you share it either by way of comment or email.
So to your point, Steve, Rosanna from Russell Construction says, so perhaps a job board on Construct Reach.
Yes,
So
yes,
one
that is right. That is in the works to have that. We've got several things that we are waiting to roll out, that we are rolling out. I would say this kind of upcoming late summer, early fall. So yes, right on key.
So Kim from the General Laborers Union Local 563 has this to share. Have you reached out to the construction union trades, and are they partnering with, are you partnering with them to help with outreach? It's important to give you the information and resources of all the differences of unions versus non-union. How do you become union, and what are the differences in respect to pay, benefits, and how do you navigate through this? So what has been our union partnership so far? Maybe we can speak to that, and what would it look like in the future?
Yeah, I think the approach has always been to look at things at the macro level and understand kind of where we are as a state of an industry, right? And so that includes both union and non-union. And I think one of the unique aspects of Construct Reach and trying to be that facilitator and really trying to get the traction that we do need and having a collective effort is having both a relationship and a partnership with union and non-union. And so we've been able to do that and to have kind of all of that representation on our advisory council so that we can have the healthy dialogue to figure out kind of how do we begin to be that industry solution that encompasses both, right? Because that's one of the things of accessibility, right? So depending on where you are, it may be union, maybe non-union. And so we want to be able to offer that value for either or, because once again, it's for the industry at large.
David Johnson from St. Louis had this to add. How much time does it take to go from starting out in training to make a steady income as a student or newcomer to the industry on average?
Ooh. That's a good question. Any of our industry folk want to?
Yeah. Barb, you want to answer that?
Give that answer?
Yeah, I think that's a question. I guess I'm looking to the industry to do that. There's, Barb, tell me the apprentice carpentry program is how many years? 4 years for apprentice carpentry to go from an apprentice to go through the entire training program. Now you're making money through the entire apprenticeship program. It's just your level changes as your wage changes as that goes, right, Barb? I'm looking for Barb to nod. Yep.
Jay has this question. How does Construct Reach actually work, and how does that address the issue of racial inequality in the construction industry?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So for the practicality, right, of kind of how we do work, right? So, we have. See, what I kind of want to start from point A. It's if a company says, hey, this is what we're seeking to do, right? So that would come from, an assessment that a company would take, regarding their diversity and initiative plans. From there, that will give us information that we need. We will begin from there, we will have a follow-up conversation, begin to kind of understand, identify, what you're seeking to accomplish. If there is a project perspective that is in place, or if there's a programmatic plan that's in place. If there's a desire for the programmatic, plan to be in place, then it is putting together kind of a program, right, based on what your needs are to pretty much accomplish the overall objective, right? And so if it's traveling, if you have work in a particular region, if you've got, opportunities that exist wherever they are, then we begin to identify, work with our educators, work with other community organizations that we have relationships with to begin to identify how to put people in those positions. But also, one of the unique things that we do is that as they are going through kind of their onboarding or their internship or what have you, we actually have curriculum that takes into a place a diverse perspective, and they don't only go through it, but you go through it as well with them, so that the process is more intentional and hands-on.
Okay, another comment was, I think it was a follow-up to another question. From my experience, most contractors are able to schedule their appropriate amounts of work ahead of time to keep the workforce working. So maybe if there's a follow-up to that, because I think there may be a difference. There are some in the industry that do well with scheduling their work to understand what their needs are. Maybe there's some gap in that. So maybe the industry can respond and say, how are you managing, to Steve's point, how are you managing the workload to ensure that they are able to have a job year after year after year? So Sydney from Mortensen has this question. How is Construct Reach creating exposure to some of the office positions in construction, like project management, superintendent, leadership positions, which also historically lack diversity? Are you telling kids about a potential degree in construction management? Does Construct Reach have internships associated with this as well?
Yes, and actually that's where we got a lot of input from our young adults, actually from HBCUs as well, because we know that they graduate a high clip of like engineers or what have you, and so they were able to talk through their particular internships, and we were able to kind of get guidance and insights for them as to what they wanted to see that they didn't get a chance to see from an office perspective. And one of the things that they wanted to see was a combination of what the industry or what the company at large did. And so being able to feel like they had a larger role or they were able to add value, but definitely that's something that we've never wanted to kind of get lost in the shuffle. Of course we are talking about the trades or what have you, but from a Construct Reach standpoint, it's understanding the need for diversifying the entire industry, and that's both from the field to the office to ownership. And so it's being able to make sure that we take that into account, and kind of the way that we have the internship program set up in the curriculum, it allows for that to take place as well.
And that's where I think the beauty of of this industry is that it has the full range from from a craft worker, pick the trade, to robotics driving around, to crane operators, to project managers, to accountants, to marketing people, it's an entire business that's construction. And I've kind of been like, how do you build your pipeline? And there's lots of different industries that have project managers in them. They know scope, they know schedule, they know budget, they know how to communicate, they know how to assemble teams. And they maybe haven't built a store yet or built a building yet, but that's something you can teach, instead of someone has to have all that. So when you start looking at other industries that are out there, don't just look at someone that's coming from a construction management degree as you're looking to broaden the perspective. And I think you'll find that bringing someone in from outside our industry with those same skill sets brings a pretty good perspective into how your business is running today. And I'd kind of maybe encourage everyone to kind of look outside our own industry when you're looking to fill some of those positions you might have.
Good. Let's see, is that our Q&A piece? We are. That means we'll wrap up early.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, again, we'll continue to throw questions out here, because I think, this panel, this group out here that I'm looking at, and I know they're not looking at their phones answering email, they're looking at their phones writing new questions and taking notes. So I'm 100% sure of that, and I know that's the same is true back on at your offices. Everyone is focused on what we're saying here, hanging on every word. But I do think that even if you don't have a question, if you have a comment, if you have a way to think how this industry can work better together. We were thinking you got to come out of here with some shared goals, shared visions, some things that you're going to take away from this meeting, from these 2 days, some shared commitments of how you're going to look at your business differently based on this. Part of the purpose of today was really around awareness and knowing that what's important to not only one owner, but multiple other owners that were part of this dialogue this morning and still here today. But what are you going to do as a contractor, as a subcontractor, as a business leader, and what have you taken away from today? So I'd be really interested to see what you've taken away, and maybe what are some of the next steps you plan on doing as an organization.
I have one comment from Misty at Target. I attended a conference last year where I learned about a GC who started an after-school program to teach elementary-age girls how to build birdhouses, wooden toolboxes, and etc. Do any of our partners in Minneapolis have a program like that that we can replicate in schools with higher minority populations? If not, how do we start something like that?
I don't know of that program, but Misty's going to dig into it.
Thank you, Misty, for that question.
If anyone knows the answer, send it in.
Right, exactly. That's good. So with everything that we've taken in, we've got a chance to kind of hear, listen to, see, and experience. How do we begin to move forward, right? What do we begin to do differently as an industry? Because one of the things is for sure, right? If we leave the same way that we came, then we don't have the necessary change that we do need, right? So what do we begin to do differently so that we can be more mindful, more thoughtful, more intentional about how we continue to build the overall sustainability of this industry while still maybe keeping equity top of mind? That was my question to you all.
It's bizarre COVID. This is a bizarre COVID world here. It's like, I know you're all writing answers, so.
Can we talk? I know we saw the video, but maybe some did get a chance to get all the context while we're waiting on people to submit their statements or questions. Paul and Steve, can you talk about how the vision of I Built This came about as far as an outreach effort? What have we been able to glean from that, and how you think efforts like this within other ownership as well as general contractors can help move the needle forward to get exposure to the industry?
Want to take that, or me?
I don't know. I got my version. Paul's got his version. So
yeah,
they're both pretty close to the same.
Yeah. There's overlap, of course. But first and foremost, we understood that there was a negative connotation about the industry, right? In terms of what the industry had to offer. There was a very limited viewpoint of what the industry had to offer. And one of the things that was very unique, I would say, is that, for the most part, Target's remodel and construction program, for the most part, when they remodel their stores, they remain open to their guests. So we were able to start the I Built This program, the I Built This event, the I Built This initiative, or what have you, to really allow young people to come into a familiar space with a brand that already has a different resonation, outside of construction. When you think about Target, you don't think construction. So, but that's a good thing, understanding that there's already the negative connotation that's out there about construction. So if you come the same way that's going to trigger the negative connotation, then they may check out immediately and say, I already know what this is. But now you bring them into a store that has a different resonation with them, but you introduce construction that way. Now they come in not expecting, right, the insights and the exposure and the learning experience and the opportunities that are available within the industry, right? And so that's a way to reposture the industry, because now they're thinking about it differently. And then the I Built This language, right, comes into play because it serves two purposes. We get a chance to feature young people and allow them to kind of be featured, throughout the day, maybe on the sales floor or what have you, as tours are taking place, as the community is coming in, school districts, educators or what have you that are coming in, and we're featuring these young people with the proud statement, I built this, right? And so they not only get a chance to be empowered, right, in their community, and people see, oh man, I know him or I know her, and they've got this proud statement about this new positive thing that's happening in their community, and they're proud to be a part of it, and they played a role in it, right? So that empowers them. Now they become an advocate to other people, and they become a new model of success for people that look like them and that they can identify with. So it's twofold. It's empowering, and it also sets this new model of success to where, oh my gosh, if so-and-so can do that and they come from where I come from, maybe that is available to me as well, right? I can see myself in that position. And so that's kind of where the I built this term, concept, if you will, came from. And being able to come into a Target store that is open to introduce them to construction, came from the need that we have as an industry to reposture it so that they can get it from a different vantage point.
Denise from Elford Incorporation has this to add. It's great to bring on diverse talent. The issue of inclusion has to be addressed. Unconscious bias training for our field leaders is critical moving forward. We can bring diverse talent on, but if they do not feel like they are valued and respected on job sites, they will leave. As construction professionals, we have to make sure that the conversation around biases are happening at all times. So thoughts about leading with inclusion and diversity.
Yeah, one of the things that we like to look at, is D&I or DEI, right? Whereas there's diversity, there's equity, and then there's inclusion. And it's not, although we say it together, it's not one thing, right? So we can engage a younger, diverse demographic, and we can take care of that D component, right? But if we don't have the equity, if we don't have the inclusion, all we do is perpetuate the negative connotation, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, they did a lot of lip service, right? And they reached out to me, but they weren't ready to receive me. And so now you don't have advocates. Now they go and tell 25 other people, man, don't go into construction. They say a lot of stuff, but they don't deliver, right? So we have to understand that those are two different aspects, and a lot of times, and that's a good call out, to make that distinction, that it's not just one thing. Those are different components.
Yeah, no, I think that is important. They're two different words and they mean two different things, and you can get in, but if the culture on your job site isn't inclusive, if the culture in your company's not inclusive, then you wasted your time trying to bring diversity to your company.
Amber had a great suggestion. Nawal from North Construction, the GC that's helping to rebuild this Target store, has done a great job modeling some new behaviors when it comes to long-term inclusion in our industry. Nawal, can you share your story?
Nothing like putting her mic in her hand. Nice.
Yes.
Can all of you guys?
You got to come to the front, Noel, so you get in the camera.
Yeah,
you got to come all the way
front
up.
and center. It's all for you.
Thank you. First of all, thanks for allowing us in your job site, and you got to get in the middle. I think there we go.
I'm incredibly humble, so just kind of bear with me. I want to say thank you to Paul, Steve, Ebony, everyone from Target, all of our partners, everyone who's here. So I wanted to share a little bit about the story of how we got here, why I'm here. So we're rebuilding, I'm the general contractor rebuilding this store. And how we got here was after the events of George Floyd. We were called out. We were doing some work on boarding up, but also cleaning up the community. And Target reached out to be able to partner with the community and rebuild this store. And the reason that is Target wanted to do something that's different than what has been done in the past. And throughout the journey of this, we've been here for about a month now. We've got 2 shifts going on of 10 hours. And we've got a store to deliver in about 8.5 weeks, give or take. And Target has partnered with us, in addition to our subcontractors, to make it as inclusive as possible, to make it a store that the community rebuilt. And what that means is that we have a goal of 30% workforce inclusion. But I wanted to go more than that. I define inclusion as a way to rebuild the community. And to me, what that means is that Target took an opportunity to give me this store. We're a small construction company, and this store is taking us to the next level. And I wanted to take that forward. And I wanted to make sure that we had at least 30% inclusion in workforce, which means partnering with our subcontractors, some of them are in this room, to include African American, Latinx, and Native American, specifically from this community, if we can find them. If we can't find them, that they are from these communities, to rebuild the store. Some of them are more than 30%. Some, actually, our electrician is about 50%, which is, for me, even working on Hennepin County jobs, is even more than I've ever seen on a private job. And in addition to that, there are also a lot of small women and minority-owned companies that are going to be participating in rebuilding Target store. And some of them have never worked on a Target store, and it's given them an opportunity to work with, as a sub of a sub, to get that scope of work and get an experience of Target, gives them that platform to build their businesses, but also the ability to hire their own folks. Nothing says more about minority inclusion and women inclusion than the fact that they bring, every company that's minority brings minority people that work in that community and are from their community with them. And that's what you want to do. You want to have an economic development opportunity for businesses that cannot have this kind of opportunity otherwise. And so that's one element. The other element that was, we didn't want to stop there. We partnered with the Carpenters Union to hire and train 5 young people, 3 that were African American, 1 female African American, and 2 Latinx that are from this community through the Salvation Army and Avivo, which is an organization that works with giving homeless communities a place to live and get a job that's sustainable, so they don't go back to homelessness. And we had 2 weeks of training. Barb, who's in the audience, helped us recruit in addition to the other people that are part of the Carpenters Union. I, partnering with Target, gave them $15 an hour while they were training. And I'm happy to say, of the 5, 1 decided that construction was not for them, which is perfectly fine. And 4 are so successful that they're going to be hired with a full-time job. And so to me, thank you. To me, it's not for the applause. To me, it's, Steve says this and I say this, it's deep learning that gives people an opportunity to participate in the construction field, which is what Construct Reach is about, which is what I'm about. And I've been doing this for the last 8 years or so. 4 as a developer and 4 as a contractor. And the last 4 years, I partnered with Hennepin County, hiring probationers into our job sites and paying them livable wages and getting them into the union as apprentices. And I've never earned, anything, accolades on that. It's really what I'm interested in. This is what I believe in. And I think my whole hope from here is for all of you guys to be able to, for the ones that are not doing that kind of thing, to learn from that and continue forward. And I appreciate the partnership we have. I'm excited about tomorrow and that I built this event and what Construct Reach and Target are about. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. So.
Thank you, Noah. I'll maybe embarrass Barb a little bit too, because it takes personal commitment. It takes passion. It takes stepping outside maybe what your boss is asking you to do, or maybe what you think they're asking you to do, to bring back what you think should be done, and convincing others that what you're doing is the right thing for the business. And I thank Barb Pex with the Carpenters Union for really her passion behind this, and really kind of stepping out to make sure that these 4 individuals got the right training, they got the right tools, and now they've got the right jobs in this industry. And it's just a start, and it's just 4, but it's 4 people that we know their names, we know who they are, we know how they work together, and now how does everyone kind of begin to replicate that introduction to the industry, and begin to grow. And that's that narrow, deep, and then we have to scale this to multiple people. And I just, again, thank Noel and Barb and all that have come together really to make this project a successful reconstruction.
I'd like to continue. We have about 6 more prior to wrapping up. Do you want to just do these last 6? We have some feedbacks and some more additives to the conversation. Chris Brink from Ryan's Companies suggests ways to promote construction to a diverse group is this: partner with Crystal Ray School in Minneapolis, the ACE Mentorship Program, STEM programs at diverse schools, recruit at HBCUs, all kind of options if you are intentional. Thank you, Chris, for that. Jessica from Minnesota Building Trades has this: there are currently many successful programs engaged in construction career exposure, exploration, and readiness in Minnesota. Specifically, 1, Construction Careers Foundation supports middle and high school programs, including the Birdhouse program. 2, Construct Tomorrow conducts construction career fairs at high schools and community centers across the state. 3, Building Strong Communities is working with construction contractors and owners to provide readiness training and placement for diverse communities. Number 4, and finally, in Minnesota, there are currently over 10,000 registered apprentices in the construction industry. More than 20% of those apprentices are people of color. We continue to seek and work with strategic partners as the force multiplier for increasing diversity and inclusivity in the construction industry. So that's what they're doing. Paul has this to add. What steps have been taken, if any? I'm sorry, you read that one. D&I, training at all levels will be necessary to sustaining and building diversity in the construction community. Again, commune and unity is what they wrote. Yeah, like separating community, coming together with unity. And then we have one from Sarah from Turner Construction. Great work, Barb. Sundin also has an amazing program. Kudos to see GC stepping up to keep the next generation of builders going. John Wolf has this to add. My takeaway for today is this: is that we need to engage with young people in our communities and start a conversation about opportunities in construction. We need to be more deliberate about mentoring and creating opportunities for the long term.
Absolutely.
Those are all the takeaways and questions for this session.
All right.
Well, that's great. No, very good kind of last comments, if you will, and statements. I would say, you guys can. Don't devalue like what you can do from your individual position, right? Like, we know that if it's an industry-wide problem, sometimes it seems a little bit overwhelming. But if we only stay there, then one thing that we can't count on is that change does not happen, right? And so it's being mindful that, hey, I can do something. Right, and whether that is amplifying and bringing awareness to organizations that are already out there, whether that is speaking to other colleagues, about ways to be more intentional, whether that is going back to speak at your old high school, whether that is reconnecting with those who are in the community that you are from to be a model of success for what they can become. I mean, the options and the ways to introduce and expose young people to construction, it's out there, right? And so it's making sure that we don't devalue like the positions that we have or that you have, and being able to do that. And so, I would say, once again, is to identify like what will you guys begin to do different if needed. If there's things that need to be shored up, if there's something that was important during one time, but maybe it's kind of fallen on the back burner, and maybe the human resources to get an internship program back up on its feet, or to be more intentional, or to look at things from a programmatic standpoint, or to have more tailored outreach, and to care about the retention as well, and how do we keep them warm, if you will, as they're going through internship programs, and to keep them interested, right? So that when it's that time to hire them, or when it's that time for them to enter into the workforce full time, right? That we've been able to engage them, re-engage them, to let them know the opportunities that exist. That is definitely something that we would love to partner with you on, for brands who got a chance to tune in on the second part of the day. Being able to see, like what we're doing from our partnership with our work with Target, being able to really be out here, hands and feet, touching the community, introducing young people to the opportunities that exist, as well to showcase the value that we do have on, regarding equity or what have you, and having equal opportunity. These are practical ways, if you will, to begin to not only just, build buildings or infrastructures, but to really build change within our community. And so we do thank everybody for tuning in today. We hope that this was not time spent. We hope that this was time invested. Right? One of the things that I would love to do is to be able to connect with you guys. If you guys have any, direct questions for me, happy to follow up with you guys. Definitely open and willing to schedule some time so that we can have more tailored conversation about what do next steps look like within your company or your organization. And thank you guys for being with us today.
Well, do I get one last? So I also want to extend an invitation. I'm probably not supposed to do this, but I'm going to. If anyone wants to understand why they actually chose construction, stop by sometime tomorrow between like 9 and 1:30 or something like that, and feel the energy that comes from this I Built This event that happens tomorrow. You don't have to spend the whole time, but if you come and you feel the energy, you'll go, wow, that's an industry I want to be in, because the way this is going to come off, the hands-on activities, the seeing things, and watching the students' eyes light up with, this is a really cool job with a really cool industry. I want it, because at the end, we're trying to pair people and show people the opportunities they have, either from an education or for a job or next step in their career. But if you want to feel excited and energized about why you're in construction, come by tomorrow.
All right. A couple of housekeeping things. Thank you so much. We're going to get some music going. We got a selfie booth back there. We got our photographer, Shanika's going to take some snapshots. You want to have some memories to take, but if not, walk back there before you leave, get some shots before you go. And to Steve's point, we want to see you at I Built This. Again, thank you for coming out to Build a Hill.